So we start with some big news here on SmackDown Ups and Downs, and that is that I, Simon Miller, have been drafted to Raw Ups and Downs. Because the joke there is I already do Raw Ups and Downs. I know, I hate me too. So do my parents. They ring me and tell me every day. But it is a big one here in the land of WWE or the WWE Universe because we have had night one of the draft. So who has gone to SmackDown? Who's gone to Raw? Who's now considered a loser because they weren't even put in the pool to begin with, which I always think is a terrible idea because you may as well hold up that person and go, we don't think anything of them. And if you do, what the hell were you thinking? But let's get into it. Finger of power and let's up those downs. What even is WWE anymore? Because the very first thing we heard was Michael Cole saying, hey, welcome to the visually pleasing Thunderdome. Visually pleasing. What are you doing, Michael Cole? Are you trying to sell me the Thunderdome? I mean, it looks very nice, but this was redonkulous. I was laughing, as I was, when Michael Cole went on to say he was stunned to learn that, oh my gosh, if a champion gets drafted this evening, they do not lose their title belt. No, Mike, that has literally never been the case. I continue to cry tears of joy because then Stephanie McMahon came out to start the draft, and if you had only started watching World Wrestling Entertainment a week ago, you would be like, who is this person? It was never, ever explained. Much like last year too, I just don't really enjoy how WWE does the draft anymore. Like, it's not terrible and it's not bad, but it just lacks the fun. Do you remember you used to have that kind of roulette wheel on the screen after someone won a match? You saw the faces changing, like, oh, are they going to go to Raw? Are they going to go to SmackDown? I just got a bigger kick out of this. And here you just have someone come out with a list and go, name. You know, okay, man, why did I even tune in? And then you just eat a pizza because you feel so sad. Down. We also killed any kind of momentum because Steph did just go WWE Drew McIntyre Raw, WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns SmackDown, WWE Women's Champion Asuka Raw. This was like throwing numbers at your face and you're trying to add them up, but you're just not quick enough. Or actually, it was kind of literally like this. It was me, I did it to a wizard in the sky. I just really wanted to try out my new magic skills. So I went, Drew McIntyre, Kaboo, Roman Reigns, Halabali, Asuka, Hagaga Jam, and all these things kept happening, and Stephanie McMahon was like my puppet. Oh, I really do enjoy the October draft season. Also, last week, I saw that one guy in the comments who said, I really don't like the wizard in the sky. I don't like his booking. Oh yeah? Ka-jam! Now you're dead. That's a bit, it's a bit strong. I reverse it. Boy, I'm going to be hearing from my lawyer. Her business are also staying on Monday nights, but we did have one huge shift because Seth Rollins is no longer on Raw and he's going to SmackDown. And my first thought was, yes, I think this was correct. He needed somewhere new. Is getting enough. It's kind of a shame that Ray and Dominic got drafted on later because I thought maybe you could do a little bit of a swerve here and come back to this in due course. But it's not a massive deal, even though we have now just taken the story at the start of the week and plonked it at the end. Rollins also cut a promo saying it's about the message and not the location. And as we now know and have long learned, the message is about ensuring everybody only has one eye. Big E and Sheamus then had a really good street fight. It was just a massive brawl, but had enough dumbness in there to make my goofy face happy. For example, at one point, Big E just found a giant bootio underneath the ring, but the Irishman didn't share my humour for this, so he tied Big E up in the ropes and just started waylaying him with a kendo stick. I mean, this was super duper intense. And as we now know in the future, you can't say super duper before you say the word intense. It sounds like a cartoon show. Michael Cole had more gibberish here when he said that if Sheamus wins, he's going to become the leader of the locker room. I was like, what the hell did that come from? And then Big E got his revenge because he tied Sheamus' feet up with some tape, got the kendo stick, and then he started kicking the crap out of Sheamus. This poor stick. They eventually fought back to catering where Sheamus broke an egg over Big E's head, and I was absolutely mortified because what a waste of protein. And then we had tire irons, probably chairs, stairs, we had all kind of things, including a white noise on a car windshield because that's just professional wrestling's new obsession. There was a really cool bit where Sheamus was going to slam Big E in the trunk of a car, but he missed and he booted off the boot instead. Hello, AEW. And then this led to an even crazier finish, because Big E got back in control and he big-ended, that sounds weird, but he big-ended Sheamus off the car, through a table, and got the 1, 2, 3. I mean, ooh-da-lally. This is awesome. These two killed each other, and someone needs to listen to me, even though there's no one around here right now. Big E needs to become Universal Champion yesterday. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Good. Kayla Braxton then interviewed the winner, and I was a bit like, man, who's cutting onions round here? Because two dressed up security guards approached Big E, and it was the returning Kofi Kingston, and it was the returning Xavier Woods. They all looked so happy. They had so much joy in their face. I was eating my onion sandwich like, oh, I can't believe it. And we had more shenanigans with these three later on. I tell you, it's the end of an era. So we do have a lot to talk about, as did Jey Uso, because he was out here and he was addressing Roman Reigns because he wanted to know what the stipulation was going to be in their Hell in a Cell match, even though the stipulation of any Hell in a Cell match is that it's Hell in a Cell. Just don't worry about it. And then if you can believe it, Reigns did appear and he said, yeah, okay, I'll tell you, whoever loses has to host the Anoa'i family barbecue in their Speedos. I was like, that's a little bit out of left field. It's also a giant lie. Unfortunately though, the actual reveal wasn't that exciting either, because after a little bit with Paul Heyman, Roman finally was on the screen, and I was like, oh, my tribal chief, I bow down to you. And he just went, I will tell you, the stipulation is it's going to be the first ever I Quit Hell in a Cell match. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but didn't somebody say game changing at one point? I don't feel like my game has changed. But that said, you can justify it, because in their last match, Reigns' big thing was like, you gotta call me the tribal chief, you moron, and he didn't, so now he has come up with a match where Jey may not be able to say that, but he does have to say the words, I quit, so Roman still kind of get what he wanted to begin with. I'll say this is the weakest part of the feud so far, but I'm just so invested in both guys, especially Roman Reigns, oh, tribal chief, bow down, that they made it work, and they'll always make it work, but yeah. Kind of feel like there's too many cooks in the kitchen here and that our soup is gonna be oversalted. Stephanie McMahon was then out for more draft picks. And I'm gonna do it exactly like she did. AJ Styles to Raw, Sasha Banks to SmackDown, Naomi to Raw, Bianca Belair to SmackDown, and Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, the tag team women's champions, they are now on Raw. That last one didn't make any sense because they are the women's tag team champions. I thought they were allowed to float around wherever they wanted. Seriously though, the speed of these reveals, it was like bullets. Couldn't keep up. Stephanie also confirmed that later on we are going to get the New Day taking on Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura for the tag team titles. So once again, that came out of nowhere. But I'm a huge fan, a big fan, that goes down. Anyway, I really like the fact that AJ Styles has been moved to Raw. Like, I know he's been going between brands like he's a ping pong ball, but what it does mean is that we can finally get this Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles match, and I'm so up for that. For the WWE title, I now kind of think Drew should win at the pay-per-view. That's getting it up. AJ Styles cut a promo from home afterwards and said that he's really happy to be moving back to Monday nights, especially because now he doesn't have to see Jeff Hardy or Sami Zayn's face anymore. I was like, AJ, you can't say that. The draft isn't done yet. You've got to sell it. Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy then beat The Miz and John Morrison. I have no idea what I meant to think about Miz and Morrison anymore, but it was very good. It was all set up thanks to social media because they'd all have some Twitter beef, and the amount of times that Michael Cole said Matt and Jeff, referencing the obvious, well, I'm pretty sure I know how this match actually came about. Somebody had an idea backstage. They were like, it'll be really funny. Riddle got the pinfall here after hitting the bro Derek on The Miz, which again begs the question why the hell he lost to Baron Corbin a few weeks ago. But yeah, pinfall 1, 2, 3. But we were not done. And why is that? Because a forgotten man returned. And honestly, I'd forgotten about him so much when whoever I'm talking about did come down the aisle. I was like, why is a stagehand with a beard coming to the ring? And then I went, oh no, wait. It is Lars Sullivan. He ruined everybody apart from John Morrison, who got away. I don't really know how to feel about this. Was I excited to see him back? Not really. Do I think he has a lot to make up for, all things considered? If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Yes, I do, but we shall see. Also, the Lucha House Party weren't on this episode of SmackDown at all, so given that they fell out with Lars Sullivan before he disappeared, I can only assume that he ate them. But look, life is all about forgiveness, so we'll have to wait and see. Right now, I am firmly on the fence. We also learned that Mandy Rose and Ricochet are going to stay on Raw, which is the same for Jey Uso, although he's staying on SmackDown, but we did switch around some tag teams, because The Miz and John Morrison are going to go to Monday nights, whereas Dominic and Ray, they're headed to SmackDown. Now the only odd thing there is that Otis, spoiler for laters, is staying on SmackDown, so what the hell is going to happen with this giant feud between The Miz and Otis? Don't worry, it gets crap before the night is over, but whatever. What I will say is that I like all these switches. I think that it is freshening up both shows, which I've already said is very, very good, so let's get it up. Mysterio spoke afterwards and said that him, his son, and his one eye are very pleased that this happened because now they can just whoop Seth Rollins' ass on SmackDown instead. I'm sure you will, Ray, and in the meantime, you'll ruin your entire family. It was in time for something that I had been very excited for and that I'd been very intrigued about because it was Sasha Banks versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title. And everyone was like, why are we doing this on free television? It should be on the pay-per-view. And the answer, of course, was ratings. But my big thing was, as long as you can tell a good story here, I shall buy in. And for the 3 minutes they had before this did fall in the bin, I was getting a kick out of it, so I was getting it up. It was more of a fight than a match, because these two hate each other, and Bayley kept going after Sasha Banks' neck after injuring it a few weeks ago. And why couldn't we have just come up with something different, or got in a damn DeLorean and ensured we hadn't done this stupid finish 72,341 times? Because as soon as Bales was in trouble, she got a chair and she hit Sasha for the disqualification. Man, the problem is this, right? You can actually justify that this was the right ending to this matchup, and I wouldn't argue with you. But because we see it every single damn week, it doesn't mean anything. It's like me breathing. I expect to breathe. I only get scared if I don't breathe. And now on WWE TV, I just assume if you need to get out of a match, somebody is going to get disqualified, and it has run out of steam. It is stupid, it is nonsense, it is down. The post-match was good because Sasha got a chair and she was going to break Bayley's neck using that damn thing. And then later on she cut a promo and did challenge the SmackDown Women's Champion to a match in Hell in a Cell. So all of that comes together and it works, but just getting there is so damn frustrating. I'll also say we now have Roman Reigns and Jey Uso in Hell in a Cell. We have Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell. So Sasha and Bayley has to main event that pay-per-view so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. I like all those other programs, but this one is better, so this is what we must do. Alexa Bliss then approached Kevin Owens backstage and went, let him in. And I started laughing, because this was like they were married, and Kevin was the dad, and one of the weird punishment he had for their kids was just putting them outside in the rain until they've learned their lesson. And then the mum was like, would you let him in? I know I'm a buffoon. This is what I thought. I was excited for our main event this evening, which was Kevin Owens versus The Fiend, though. So WWE must have done something right. Okay, you ready for this? The New Day then just won the tag team titles. I mean, what the flub? Wouldn't this have been better if Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods had come back and inserted themselves back into the tag team division and climbed up the ladder before having an excellent championship match with Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro? The answer is yes, but as ever, WWE just comes up with these ideas and decides, well, we must pull the trigger now because maybe the world will end tomorrow. However, these four guys are so flippin' talented, is getting it up. I felt a little sorry for Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura because they have done all they possibly could with these titles, and here they were just taken out the back and shot in the head. But look, all of this warmed my socks. Whatever that means. It finished when Kofi hit the Trouble in Paradise on Shinsuke Nakamura, and then Xavier Woods basically dived 3/4 across the ring with a big elbow drop to get the 1, 2, 3, and like I say, win the championships. And I did find it satisfying. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, although I still would have preferred a big build. The reason for this too is because we were about to get a massive decision that has changed the very foundations of WWE forever, because Kofi and Xavier Woods are moving to Raw, whereas Big E is staying on SmackDown. I mean, can you believe it? Like I said, end of an era, the New Day are dead, the New Day are no more, somebody build a gravestone, and they all sold like this. They're like, why? Why has this happened? But I actually think it's really good, because the power still lives on. It's not like we broke them up, they all hate each other. So now Kofi and Xavier can be troopers on Monday, Big E can be the trooper on Friday, maybe he does become the Universal Champion, and then they reunite. I actually think this makes the New Day stronger. So I understand the initial reaction of pain, but long term, I think it's gonna bring us joy. Up. Dana Brooke and Angel Garza are also staying on Raw, and as already mentioned before, Otis he shall be remaining on Fridays. And then we figured out how WWE was going to deal with all of that. Stupid down. After a week of shouting, trial, we're going to do a trial between Otis and The Miz, we were backstage with Otis and Tucker, and some dude just came up and went, yeah, you know, we said we were going to do a trial. Well, The Miz, he wants to delay it, so if you tuned into the show to see that, we're not going to give it to you. Tucker also got the short straw here, despite being really good at what he does, because he was all like, well, look, actually, I don't know what brand I'm on right now, because nobody put me in the pool, so I'm just going to have to wait and see. And all of this was baloney, and it was such a bait and switch, and WWE does this too much. It was at our main event between Kevin Owens and The Fiend, and yeah, this felt like a big deal to me. Clearly, I'm a schmuck, but it's getting it up. It was a typical Bray Wyatt match in the sense that no matter what Kevin Owens threw at him, he was able to get up like a zombie and just no-sell it, which is probably why within the first 5 minutes, KO also got Sister Abigail'd right into a table. And that really looked like it hurt. Later on, Kevin fought back with a powerbomb onto another table, although this one didn't break, so they had to do it again. But I kind of like it when wrestlers react like that on the fly. It just made it look even more devastating than it would have done otherwise. She was like, well, fine, if the wood's not gonna break, I'll do it again. But then it got really bad for Owens. Because all of his offense was being wiped off by Bray Wyatt as if he was just being licked by a dog, until we got to what actually was quite a creative finish. Because the Fiend got the mandible claw on Kevin Owens and decided, well, given the position I'm in, I'll give you a stunner, but that didn't work at all. Bray Wyatt refused to let go, Kevin Owens passed out, and he lost after being pinned for the 1, 2, 3. The lights went out after this, and when they came back on, Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt were staring at each other like, I love you, and you love me. And look, let's just face it, as dumb as this is, do you want to see where it's gonna go? Yes, and are you enjoying it? The answer is, of course, yes. And just when you thought SmackDown was going to end, roll it. Ever wonder why a man is all of a sudden kind of dressed like Roman Reigns, hail the tribal chief, towards the end of a SmackDown review video, even though it doesn't make any sense? Well, much like WWE, who has just booked Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman in a Universal Championship match, sometimes, like in life, stuff just happens. So if you're missing storylines or well-built-up narratives, make sure you give us a call below on 0800 Stuff Just Happens, and somebody is always willing to take your call. Hail the tribal chief. That's right, it just happened. Michael Cole shouting into a camera like I'm doing now, going, next week, it's gonna be Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title. Don't ask me, because I don't know. So there you go, night 1 of the draft is done. I really do not like the execution of the draft because it makes it feel so lackluster, which is not meant to be the point. But we do have a lot of good characters. Like Roman Reigns is a great character, Jey Uso is a great character, Kevin Owens, The Fiend, so on and so forth. I think it's a very easy to watch show, and we do have some connective tissue. I mean, not Otis this week, but more times than not we do. Getting up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about the draft and who do you want to be drafted come Monday. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here, including retro ups and downs from yesterday, highest rated SmackDown ever on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Make sure you have a good weekend. I'll see you soon.